The first book on the list is the classic Sam's Teach Yourself SQL in 10 Minutes. This is everything a SQL book should be. It's short, to the point, and honestly covers most fundamental basics of SQL that apply to most databases. And I use this book primarily as a reference for join operations. The next book is Relational Database Practices. This is a really, really interesting book that really delves into the theory of data, and it explains, how do we look at entities? How do we treat timestamps? Are timestamps their own entity? How do we think about data, and really gets behind the theory of data. It also brings up temporal databases. The next book is Distributed Databases, Principles and Systems. This is an older book, I think from the late 80s, and it goes into a lot of the foundational concepts of locks, agreements such as Byzantine agreements, temporary aggregate tables, fundamental relational algebra theory, and foundations to concurrency with atomic operations. This next book is Minimal APIs in .NET. This is a really foundational concept book for basic .NET API design, and it's a pretty light book, light read, and it's a good refresher to concepts like Dapper, Swagger UI, and JSON Web Tokens, and many others. I like it primarily just because it's a little shorter and you can get through it pretty quick. This next one is really, really fascinating. It's another database book. It's called Translucent Databases. This is the shorter version of the full-length book, but it goes into topics of cryptography applied to databases and covers the overall topic of how do we secure the data actually in our databases. Concurrency and .NET is an excellent introduction to functional programming, and it covers C# and also F#, and it gives examples of a lot of scenarios in both languages, and also has its code posted online in its repository. This was a great introduction to parallel execution of code concepts, queues, .NET tasks, actor patterns, F#, and overall thread safety of code. The next one by the same publisher is Dependency Injection, and this is a really, really outstanding book, and it covers topics like the composition root of the program as it relates to dependency injection patterns. It also covers patterns and also anti-patterns of dependency injection that you may come across in a real-life scenario. And finally, the biggest book of them all, AWS Certified Developer Official Study Guide. An almost 1,000-page book, this delves into the core functionality of most AWS services as of 2019. So there have been some that have been added recently, but this covers the true bulk of what AWS offers, and it gives you an excellent understanding of system design, and it goes into topics like RDS, EC2, Lambda, DMS, SQS, CloudWatch, VPC, and it helps you to think about how do we construct a cloud-hosted application. That is it for my list of books for 2023, and I look forward to finding the new books for 2024.